I rented a house for $65 a month. That was my first mistake. I knew something was off the moment I saw the listing. $65 a month for a 2-bedroom standalone house in upstate New York, fully furnished, utilities included, no deposit. It looked like a typo. Had to be. But I clicked anyway. Curiosity first, caution later. The pictures were convincing. The house was old, sure, but charming in that forgotten Americana kind of way. Weathered wood paneling, brick chimney, a wraparound porch. Inside, it looked lived in but not damaged. Cozy even. A little outdated mustard-colored kitchen tiles, floral wallpaper, but nothing I couldn't stomach. The listing said, immediate move-in. Landlord not picky. Must go fast. I should have closed the tab right then. But I was broke. 3 weeks behind on rent. My roommates were bailing on me, and I had just lost my job waiting tables at a bar that closed overnight. I didn't have options. I didn't even have groceries. So, I called the number. The voice that answered was low and slow. Male. Maybe older. He didn't ask much. Just when I could come by to see it. I said tomorrow. He said, bring cash. First month only. The house was even more remote than I expected. About an hour outside of any real town. The roads turned from pavement to gravel, then to dirt. My phone signal dropped to 0. The woods on either side thickened, darkened. No other homes in sight. Then I saw it, the house. It looked exactly like the pictures, but quieter. Still, like it was holding its breath. The man who met me there was wearing a coat far too heavy for the weather. It was warm out, almost muggy, but he was layered in wool. His skin was pale, almost sallow. His eyes never quite met mine. He didn't shake my hand. Instead, he just said, "It's all yours if you want it." He barely showed me around. Just pointed toward each room. Kitchen. Bedroom. Bathroom's clean. Water runs fine. Power's on. Then, standing in the hallway, he paused in front of a heavy oak door with 3 rusted nails driven across it. "Don't open this," he said. I blinked. "What's down there?" He took a step back. Basement. Locked for a reason. Leave it alone. There was something in the way he said it, not aggressive, not threatening, but exhausted. Like he'd said it 1,000 times before. Despite everything, I took the deal. Paid cash. Signed a handwritten lease. Got the keys. He was gone 5 minutes later. No welcome packet. No instructions. Just silence. I stood in the living room, still holding the keys, staring at that nailed door. I felt something I couldn't name. Not dread. Not quite fear. Something off. That night, I unpacked what little I had, some clothes, a half-dead laptop, an air mattress. The house groaned with every step I took. I told myself it was old wood. Just settling. The fridge buzzed, the pipes clanked, the wind whistled softly through the trees outside. Nothing alarming. Not yet. But the silence between the noises? That was different. It wasn't peaceful. It was thick. Watchful. like the house was waiting. When I passed the hallway again, I stopped in front of the basement door. I leaned in, listening. Nothing. Just dead stillness behind it. I laughed at myself, shook my head, turned off the light. But as I walked away, I swear I heard something. Just faintly. A creak. Like a step. From the other side. The first real sign came 3 days after I moved in. I was lying in bed, drifting in that blurry space between wakefulness and sleep, when I heard it. A sound. Soft at first. Distant. A dragging. Like something heavy scraping across concrete. It came from underneath me. From the basement. I sat bolt upright. Listened. The sound faded like it had ducked away, hiding again. I waited in the darkness, heart pounding, breath held. Nothing. I chalked it up to pipes, or maybe the foundation settling. Old houses had character, I told myself. They groaned and creaked. They made noises. That was normal. But the next night, it happened again. Exactly at 3:17 a.m. Not 3:15. Not 3:20. 3:17. And the night after that? Same thing. By the fourth night, I was no longer afraid of the sound. I was afraid of how I had started expecting it. I began leaving lights on. Hallway, bathroom, kitchen, always something illuminated. But still, at 3:17, the dragging would start. And always from below. It wasn't just the sound. In the mornings, I'd find strange things. Chairs moved a few inches out of place. Kitchen drawers half open. The bathroom faucet dripping even though I knew I hadn't used it. Once, I found my toothbrush in the sink. Wet. I hadn't brushed my teeth yet. Then I noticed the light bulbs. They started blowing out. Always the same ones in the hallway near the basement door. I replaced them. They burst again the next night. No power surge. No storm. Just pop. Gone. The hallway grew darker every evening. As if the house didn't want that area lit. Then, the fingerprints. That morning, I woke up groggy. Stumbled into the hallway. Something caught my eye. Tiny smudges on the basement door. I leaned closer. Fingerprints. Faint but clear. Small. Not adult-sized. Like a child's. For fingers and a thumb pressed against the lower half of the door. As if something had stood there, reaching up. I backed away. My skin crawled. I wiped them off and tried to forget it. That night, I pushed my dresser in front of the basement door. Just in case. Still, I kept hearing things. Not just the dragging anymore. Now there were whispers. So faint I could almost convince myself they were imagined. But they always came at the same time. 3:17. I stopped sleeping properly. My eyes looked sunken. My appetite faded. I barely left the house. I started recording the hallway on my phone, propping it up while I tried to sleep. Reviewing the footage became a nightly ritual. And that's when I saw it. On the seventh night. At exactly 3:17, the video showed the hallway light flicker, just once, and then a shadow moved across the camera's field of view. Small. Fast. Crawling low. It paused at the base of the basement door. And then disappeared. I rewatched it over and over again. Could have been a glitch, I told myself. Could have been anything. But I knew better. I tried everything. I bought sage from a shop in town. The clerk asked me what it was for. I just said bad energy. She nodded like she knew. Maybe she did. I burned the sage in every corner of the house. Recited protection prayers I found online. I even sprinkled salt across the threshold of the basement. But that night, when I climbed into bed, I felt watched. I left all the lights on. Put in earbuds. Played white noise. Pulled the covers up to my chin. And then, somewhere in the dark behind me, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not from a distance. Right next to me. Slow. Wet. Shallow. I froze. I couldn't turn around. Couldn't even blink. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Eventually, the breathing stopped. But I didn't fall asleep. I just lay there. Waiting. 4/3/17. I lasted 2 more nights. 2 more 3:17s. 2 more whispers. 2 more moments lying frozen in bed, staring into the darkness, waiting for something I couldn't see to reach out and touch me. And then I snapped. I couldn't live like this anymore. I needed answers. I needed control. Even if what I found made things worse, at least I'd know. So I bought a crowbar. That morning, just after sunrise, I stood in front of the basement door. The hallway was cold, colder than the rest of the house. The light above me flickered weakly. The rusted nails stared back at me. There were 3 of them, thick and deep, hammered across the door at angles. Whoever put them there didn't just want the door closed, they wanted it sealed. For good. My hand shook, but I jammed the crowbar under the first nail and pushed. It resisted with a long, aching groan, like the wood itself didn't want to be disturbed. It popped loose. So did the next. And the third. The final nail hit the floor with a dull clink that echoed down the hall. I put my hand on the doorknob. Cold. Too cold. I turned it slowly. The mechanism clicked. The door creaked inward. And for the first time since I moved in, I saw the basement. It was pitch black. My flashlight struggled against the darkness like it was fighting something physical. The light beam looked thin, choked. I stepped down onto the first stair. It moaned under my weight. Then another. The cold was biting now, unnatural. My breath fogged in the air like I'd opened a freezer. I paused halfway down. The walls were damp, glistening. Mold bloomed in long dark veins across the concrete. A leak dripped steadily in the far corner, the sound painfully loud in the silence. The stench hit me then, not rot, not sewage, but something sour. Like milk gone bad, mixed with old metal and dust. The flashlight flickered. I banged it against my palm. It steadied. And that's when I saw it. In the center of the room. A crib. It was old, wood splintered and gray. One of the slats was cracked. A small mobile hung above it, broken, with only two of its four pieces left, a faded plastic moon and a cracked star, dangling by threadbare strings. The crib was rocking, gently, back and forth, back and forth. No breeze, no air, just movement. I stared, unable to breathe. There was nothing in it. No baby. No blanket. Just an empty mattress, yellowed and stained. But still, it rocked. I stepped forward, one slow foot at a time. The flashlight dimmed again. I slapped it once more. It flickered violently. And in that flicker, I saw something, just a blur. Something small darted across the far wall. I spun the light in that direction. Nothing. Just concrete. Cobwebs. And something scratched into the wall. I got closer. Tiny marks. Vertical lines. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Scratch marks. As if something or someone had been trying to climb out. Over and over. Some of them had dried reddish-brown stains. I backed away slowly, heart hammering. Then the flashlight died completely. I stood in absolute darkness. My ears strained, and I heard it. A faint rustle. Then a soft thump like small feet dropping onto the floor. Then breathing. Behind me. I ran. Blindly. Up the stairs, stumbling, scraping my shin. I hit the door hard enough to bounce back. It was still open. I slammed it shut behind me, heart nearly bursting out of my chest. The hallway light buzzed above me. Then burst. Glass rained down. I fell to my knees, breathing hard, soaked in sweat despite the freezing air. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen, all the lights on, armed with the crowbar like it could protect me from whatever that was. But no sounds came. No breathing. No dragging. Just silence. Which somehow felt worse. Because now I knew. The basement wasn't empty. It never had been. And whatever was down there, it knew I had seen it. I didn't go near the basement the next day. I didn't leave the house either. I just existed. Moved from room to room, trying to stay in the light. I opened windows. Let the sun pour in. It didn't help. The house still felt dark. I started hearing things even when I was awake now, little creaks that didn't belong, whispers that didn't have a mouth to say them. So I left. Got in my car and drove into town. I needed answers. I needed to know what the hell I had moved into. I found a small library, one of those old brick ones with the paint peeling off the columns out front. Inside, a woman with thick glasses and a bun nodded when I asked if they kept local history. She led me to the basement. Of course. Rows of dusty filing cabinets. Microfilm reels. Newspaper clippings and binders. I started with the address. And I found it. The house had belonged to a man named Ellis Mercer. Born 1945. Worked at a local lumber mill. Married to a woman named Lana. They had a daughter, Ellie, born in 1981. In October of 1984, there was a police report. The headline read, "Father found alone after blood discovered in family home." I read every word. Neighbors reported screams coming from the house late one night. When officers arrived, they found Ellis standing in the front yard, covered in blood. He was holding a baby rattle. There was no sign of the wife or child. Inside, the house was a mess, furniture overturned, blood on the walls and floor, and the basement door nailed shut from the inside. Police removed the nails. What they found downstairs wasn't shared in the article. Just this sentence. Due to the graphic nature of the scene, details have been sealed from the public record. Ellis was taken into custody but never stood trial. He was declared mentally unfit. Institutionalized. He kept repeating the same phrase. They never left the basement. 2 years later, he died in the facility. Suicide. The house remained empty. Until now. I left the library feeling sick. The sun had set while I was reading. The streetlights flickered on. I stood in the parking lot, not wanting to go back. But I had nowhere else to go. Back at the house, I didn't go inside right away. I sat in my car, staring at the porch, at the windows, at the silhouette of that oak door through the front hallway. And something changed in me. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. Why me? Why now? Why this house? Why that child-sized shadow in the basement? I stormed inside, threw my bag down, and went straight to the hallway. The door was shut again. I hadn't closed it. I hadn't even gone near it since that night. I pressed my ear against the wood. Silence. Then, very softly, a hum. Like a lullaby. Broken. Off-key. I stepped back. My hands clenched. I wanted to scream. To cry. To run. But none of those things would solve anything. So I did the only thing I could think of. I began to dig. Not in the basement. In the records. Over the next few days, I dug deeper into Ellis Mercer's life. Old news reports. Archived interviews. Court documents. Even found a few posts on internet forums from locals who remembered the story. Turns out, Ellis wasn't always unstable. People described him as quiet, friendly. A good father. A loving husband. No signs of violence. Until one day, everything changed. His coworkers said he started coming in late, distracted. Said he kept looking over his shoulder. His boss reported that Ellis claimed someone was following him home. The neighbors said they stopped seeing his daughter in the yard. Stopped hearing her laugh through the open windows. They thought maybe she was sick. Then the screaming started. Then the police came. And after that, silence. One woman, a retired nurse who had worked at the institution, said Ellis spent his final year drawing. Same thing, over and over. A crib. A staircase. And something small crawling out of the dark. She said he never called it his daughter. He called it the thing that wore her face. I didn't sleep at all that night. The humming returned. So did the scratching, this time, from the other side of the basement door. Not dragging. Scratching. Faster now. Urgent. Like something trying to climb up. At 3:17 a.m., the hallway light exploded again. This time, it didn't just burst. It shattered. Glass sprayed across the floor, tiny shards catching moonlight like teeth. I sat in the corner until dawn, my back to the wall, eyes on the basement door, and for the first time since moving in, I thought I saw it breathe. I couldn't live with unanswered questions anymore. I had crossed a line the moment I opened that basement door. Whatever was here, whatever Alice had tried to bury, was awake now. And it wanted something. No, it wanted me. I could feel it. So that night, I went back down. But this time, I didn't go blind. I prepared. I bought candles. Dozens of them. Thick, white ones from the thrift store in town. I arranged them in a circle in the center of the basement, around the crib. I found an old cleansing prayer online. Not sure what religion it was from, maybe Christian, maybe not. It didn't matter. I just needed something to hold on to. I brought salt, too. Drew a line across the top stair and every corner of the room. The flashlight stayed on my belt. But I didn't need it, not at first. The candles lit the basement in a flickering orange glow, making the moldy walls shimmer and breathe. The crib was still there. Still empty. Still rocking. I took a deep breath and stepped into the circle. Opened my notebook. And began to read. At first, it felt stupid. Like a kid pretending to be a ghost hunter. My voice echoed off the walls, swallowed by damp air. But then, something changed. The temperature dropped fast. The air grew heavier, almost syrupy, like it was trying to stick to my lungs. The flames of the candles began to pull inward, like wind was sucking them toward the center of the room. Then I heard it. A crying. At first, it sounded like a baby. High-pitched. Wailing. Sharp. But it layered. Beneath the infant's cry was another, deeper, raw, guttural, like an animal in pain. And then, a third. A whisper. Saying my name. The crib flipped over. Candles blew out in a gust of freezing wind. I stumbled back, heart in my throat, nearly slipping on the slick concrete. And that's when I saw her. At first, just a shape. Small. Childlike. Curled in the corner of the basement where the light didn't reach. But then she moved. Not like a child. Not like anything human. She crawled along the wall. Sideways. Head tilted too far to one side, hair matted, limbs bent at impossible angles. When she reached the candlelight, I saw her face. And I wished I hadn't. It wasn't just wrong, it was unfinished. Too smooth in places, like wax that hadn't cooled. Eyes too large. Lips too thin. Skin torn at the edges, like something wearing a mask that didn't quite fit. And she was whispering. One word. Over and over. Daddy. I turned to run. The stairs were behind me. But the moment I stepped out of the circle, the candles behind me all went out. The basement fell into near total blackness, only the dim glow of one flickering candle remained. And that's when she stood up. Full height. Her head brushed the low ceiling. Her limbs elongated, like shadow pulling itself into flesh. And still that face. Still whispering. Daddy. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking through me. I bolted. Ran for the stairs. The air pushed back, thick and cold like moving through syrup. Something brushed against my ankle. Then my thigh. then my chest like fingers grazing me from the inside out. I made it to the stairs and didn't stop. I didn't turn around. Didn't look back. Didn't breathe. I burst through the basement door, slammed it shut, and threw every piece of furniture I owned against it. Table. Couch. Bookshelf. Then I collapsed. When I woke, it was morning. Sunlight streamed in through the windows. The house felt quieter, but not in a peaceful way. Like something had stepped out or moved up. I checked my phone. One missed call. No number. Just a voicemail. I played it on speaker. There was static at first. Then a voice. A child. "You found me," it said. "Now I found you." I threw the phone across the room. I packed what I could. Left the rest. I didn't care. The clothes, the furniture, the deposit, meaningless. I got in my car and drove until I saw city lights. Then I kept driving. 3 states away. But even now, in a new apartment, with no basement, no creaky stairs, I still wake up. 3:17 a.m. Every night. And sometimes, when the lights are off and the air feels just a little too cold, I swear I hear something crawling on the walls. I moved 3 states away. A friend of a friend had a spare room in a small apartment above a bakery in Pennsylvania. No lease, no questions, no basement. I paid the first month in cash, again. And for the first week, it was quiet. Too quiet. No knocks. No whispers. No shattered light bulbs or footsteps overhead. I thought maybe, just maybe, I had escaped. Maybe burning the sage and sealing the door behind me had done something. Maybe the thing I unleashed had boundaries. But deep down, I knew better. You don't open a door like that and walk away clean. It started again on the 7th night. 3:17 a.m. I woke up. Heart pounding. Sheets soaked. The kind of waking where you don't remember the dream, but you remember the feeling, something chasing you, just out of reach. I sat up. Listened. Nothing. I laughed to myself. A dry, shaky breath. False alarm. But then I smelled it. The basement. That same sour metal scent. Mold. Rust. Damp rot. Like old stone and stagnant water clinging to the back of my throat. It was coming from the closet. My roommate didn't believe me at first. Said old buildings smell weird. But even she started noticing the lights flickering. The cold drafts. The shadows that lingered a little too long. She moved out by the end of the 2nd week. Left a note on the fridge. "You should too." I started sleeping with the lights on again. Put salt at the windows. Mirrors covered. Door locked. Didn't help. Nothing ever does. The calls returned blocked numbers. Sometimes I answered. Nothing on the other end but breathing. Once, a child giggled. Another time, the voice whispered, "You took my place." I tried destroying my phone. Bought a new one. Didn't matter. The calls still came. Sometimes they didn't even ring. They just appeared. Voicemails with sounds like dragging chains or tiny fingernails tapping glass. Once, I picked up and didn't hear anything for 10 seconds. Then one word. Downstairs. But I didn't have it downstairs. Until I noticed the access hatch in the hallway floor. I swear it wasn't there before. I covered it with furniture. Taped it shut. Then I left. Found a motel 2 towns over and paid in cash again. Slept with the TV on. But the next morning, when I checked out, there was a voicemail waiting. A child's voice. Are you done running yet? I drove aimlessly for 2 days. No plan. No destination. I didn't eat. Barely drank. Just tried to outrun the feeling. But it doesn't work like that. You can't outrun something that's already inside you. I rented another apartment. 4th floor. New building. Bright windows. No crawl spaces, no hatches. Everything clean. Everything safe. The landlord was friendly. Too friendly. Kept asking if I believed in ghosts. I lied. Said no. He just smiled. That night, I unpacked the bare essentials. Toothbrush. Change of clothes. 1 book. I turned on every light. Checked every corner. I slept on the couch, upright. Set an alarm for 3:16 a.m. I wanted to be awake this time. When the alarm buzzed, I jumped. Looked around. Silence. Then I heard it. A single, deliberate creak. From the kitchen. I got up. Slowly. Heart pounding so hard it felt like a second heartbeat in my neck. I turned the corner. And saw her. Not as a shadow this time. Not as a crawling silhouette. She was standing. In the center of the room. In full view. Wearing the same stained dress. Holding something in her hand. A piece of paper. She lifted it slowly. Unfolded it. And held it toward me. I stepped closer. My name was written on it. Underneath, in shaky childlike handwriting, 1 sentence. You opened the door. You belong to the house now. I blinked. And she was gone. But the paper was still there. That was 3 days ago. I haven't left the apartment since. I can't. Every time I get close to the door, I hear her whisper. Not just once. Constantly. Like she's just behind it. Waiting. Watching. Smiling. Tonight, I got another voicemail. A different voice this time. A man's. Raspy. Barely audible. It just said, she never left the basement. But the basement, it left with you. Now it's 3:17. I'm sitting in bed. And I can hear her again. Closer. Not in the kitchen. Not in the closet. Right behind me. The air smells like mold and regret. I don't want to turn around. But I know if I don't, she will touch me first. And if that happens, I don't think I'll come back.